For those of you that were recognize Pavlos Kountouriotis, I come from Greece and I am currently working as a senior lecturer in the University and teaching a master's course. My work is mainly revolving around transgression, video aesthetics, and self-expression in performance art. I think I would like to start by showing you a little video of the work I've been doing. Unfortunately, I can't show you the live work for the reason that I don't have time to prepare for it. Usually, when I do this kind of work, I need about 1.5 hours just to meditate, and I need another 1 hour to prepare the technology around the work that I'm going to be showing. Just as a little word of preparation for you, in case it's not something really weird, but I feel I need to say, ethically I need to inform you, there is going to be a little bit of blood, real blood, in the video. So we'll start with the video, and then I'll explain to you what was going on for me during this last month here in Prague. Could we switch off my lights? Please? Thank you. And also accidentally during my residency here, I also worked on building things together and putting them one after the other for the things you've seen. Another conversation we had with Ben was about the big distinction between our approaches, between the ratio and the intuition. In a sense, I work much more rationally, and Ben works much more intuitively in his work. And a very big aspect of my work is really trying to suppress my own desires and needs and wishes of what the work needs to be about, because my work is really about filling the gaps. I can't decide myself where to put my dot, because that is not what I'm doing. I have to just connect 2 people or 3 people together. So I'm trying to get rid of my intuition as much as possible. In a sense, it's a much more scientific paradigm. This, by the way, is one of the windows here in Prague that I found fascinating, because it reminded me of Greece in the 80s. So after this kind of period, we said with Ben, okay, how about we sit down together, or we don't sit together, we just try to practice what we have been talking about and see if that might work. And that was the phase 2 of our research. So we attempted to choreograph something together, or a bit together. And that was making an event for all the people of the Identity.Move. And it utterly failed. It utterly failed because I came down and I said, this is not possible for me. I can't make it work like that. First, because of the political reasons that are implied in this work. Like ethically, I don't feel like I can facilitate an event putting down my own desires. Here is an event for other people to present their work and show their work. And secondly, I don't have time to research on what other people have done. Then to come down with some ideas. But because I was so adamant in what I perceive would be an important piece of research and work, I sort of asked them not to do something. Of course, in the end, we had to present the table, we had to do something, but we had a certain responsibility. This was our event. And we came down with some red chairs, a big piece of paper, and some food that Alfred here kindly offered to us. And one of the questions that we had, because of course it was a little bit of a difficult moment, because everybody in that meeting felt that Ben and I were not sort of close to each other yet, was why don't we change partners by adding. And that sort of resonated with me, and I only realized it yesterday. So the next day we meet with Ben and we go to phase 3.1. Second practical application is an attempt to reflect what we're doing. So the next day we decided we have to come down Pavlos and Ben with a concept, and we also have to understand how we want to collaborate with each other. That's what's going to save us. So we take ourselves apart, and we go for a coffee, each one of us, and we have to think of a concept we would like to contribute to the other person, and we also have to think of how we see each other next to each other. Little did I know that again we would fail in coming into the same way of solving the problem. It sounds easy, but it is not so easy. Ben had put more emphasis on the concept and the idea that we had to work on, and I had put more emphasis on the collaborative models. And I've already sort of explained what I did. I really thought about collaborative models, whereas Ben thought of goals. So in a sense, Ben's suggestion was we would have a dramaturg and a choreographer, a lighting designer and a choreographer, a performer and a choreographer, or along the line, a dramaturg and a choreographer, and so on. For me, that couldn't work. So I came down with different collaborative models. The dramaturg and the choreographer. The big problem there is the hierarchy that is going to be included, because the choreographer is always going to pick his name down as first, and the dramaturg is usually forgotten. The dramaturg and dancer doesn't really work as a model, because again it is hierarchical, but then who really makes it work? Then I thought of another model, the coach and the athlete. So you see the potential in someone, and then you have a vision, and you let that potential grow. We felt with them that this is not our model, because one is basically going to, only one is going to grow out of this experience. The second one was to do the bed and the mattress. But it is always that the bed is a mattress, and after it gets it, it is still called a bed. So for me, that reminded me of the choreographer and the dramaturg. Then the other model was the cow and the milkman, which means the cow has milk, it is in a painful state, the milkman comes, takes the milk away, and so it is. That really means that one of us had to be in a really painful further. We acknowledge with that this is not the case. We don't have a piece right now to work on. So that model can work either. The other model was the paper and the pen. For the paper and the pen, you have a paper, you have an ink, you start writing. The problem here is that the pen is going to really exhaust itself, and the only thing that we will remember is basically the paper. The other model was the mother and the father, which basically means they influence other people. We just didn't know who to influence. The other model was the sound and the Tascam. Tascam is a sound device that I have been using all these days with them to record our conversations. So imagine it's a sound recorder. So somebody makes something, the other records, captures, and only delivers that thing, and manages to make it visible or audible to other people. We found that quite interesting. The next model was the tea and the cup. We have somebody provides a formless idea, like a tea that has fallen, and somebody provides the vessel. We come together and we have a cup of tea. Both of them are equally important. You can't have the tea without the cup, and you can't have the cup without the tea. We found that also very interesting. The next model is a very sort of proverbial one, Muhammad and the mountain. If Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain, the mountain will go to Muhammad. Which basically means one of us had to go to the other's style of work or process of work. We also found that interesting, we just didn't know how to do it. The next one was the city and the map. The city and the map means that we have many people who would like to come to the city, but they don't understand anything about that city. So you provide a map, the people become happy, the city grows, and the tourists grow. That sounds quite interesting. Influenced by Frank Wallenberg. The next model was the spaceship and the Earth or NASA, where basically one of us manages to fly away and the other becomes the base and sort of reminds him that here is the base and this is your direction, don't lose your direction. If you don't have a base, you will never be able to fly away. I personally found that this is what reminds me when I'm a lecturer. This is what I usually do. Ben was also not interested in becoming an ASA for me, so we skipped that model. The next one is the cocoon and the schmetterling, or the butterfly, where basically one protects the other so that the work grows. I don't know why, I can't remember now that, but we sort of dismissed that model. Remember?
We didn't like it because one would say that.
Yes, one would die, yes.
One would die.
Yeah. And then the last model that we came up with, or I came up with, was the pottery and the bakery. Initially it was grocery and bakery, but then we thought P and B would be the most appropriate thing to have. So you have two shops that are running parallel to each other. They produce things, and they have their own clientele. Just because they're next to each other, two people, another client might join the other shop because it's convenient for them. So the shop now has two clients, which means this shop can grow, and it also means that it can start delivering even a greater variety of products since it can go further. We couldn't decide on the model, although we had some hints, some ideas, so we went down to a concept. And the concept that we came down with Ben was basically working on an umbrella concept, which would be the volume performance. Ben's idea was to work on the idea of need and AT and subject-object relations. And mine was to work on the body pain, self-inflicted pain. And we could come down together after we have worked on the pottery and the bakery and maybe deliver an evening of an immersive experience where the audience can stroll around the different stations that we would have. So for that, we chose the pottery and the bakery. We found that this model would be the most appropriate. So phase 3.2, pottery. I can't speak about the bakery, but I can speak about the pottery. I decided to follow Ben's approach. I decided to go on an intuitive kind of way as much as possible, of course. So I started by drawing an image. This is the first image that I drew. Slashing myself on my skin, and then my whole idea is we need to retrain our bodies to feel pain differently, to find the benefit in pain, because we usually take drugs so people get pain. But that's not always the case. In pain, I believe we can approach reality differently. It's a very common thing in other religions and other cultures. So this idea of the blue and the red pill reminded me a little bit of the matrix field. I discussed this image with Ben, and Ben gave me some really nice feedback, which in 2 words is dismiss the idea. So I was like, okay, I don't have an image. Okay, I have to start from somewhere else. So I started with different experiments I put to myself, which would help me to prepare myself in entering in this altered state to perceive pain differently. These are some of the experiments that I have been putting down, and here it goes. Experiment number 1, go on a repetitive minimalistic dance. I'm using the child's interior drama, funny name, so the drama that is interior. Usually she performs this piece for 20 minutes. I perform it for 2 hours, and it is a piece where you just jump for 2 hours. And after a while, after a lot of frustration and almost crying in front of the camera, I realized that I was struggling because I wanted the thing to finish, and I was asking myself, when is it going to finish, when is it going to finish? I hope it's already 30 minutes, I hope it's already 40 minutes. I had to accept the passage of time. Experiment number 2, I went into Sufi dancing. And the most interesting thing is that I'm writing, I don't know why, but I really like this experiment. And I really still know that. So I thought, this is a great image. I have to keep it. This is my intuition. And I didn't go and question it, which is what I would usually do. Experiment number 3. Do a laughter meditation. And of course, after like 5 minutes of laughter meditation, you don't feel like laughing anymore. So I had to fake my laughter. And while I was faking my laughter, it became real again. So even fake can produce reality. Experiment number 4, sleep deprivation. I didn't sleep for 36 fucking hours, and I have to say I was like a zombie the next day. I have nothing to say. Experiment number 5, move in an extremely slow motion. I realized the following. When I insist on some pain and then I release, the euphoria I get is invaluable. When in pain, I should not rush. I should attend to what I have, and my body will soon find its way. This is the other experiment I really found very important for me, and I use it as my meditation now before what you have seen. Actually, for about 1.5 hours, what I'm doing is I'm trying to fall as slow as possible without any release of my body. It's very easy to allow yourself to fall in gravity. But now I have to resist gravity. And that actually, I felt that it was empowering me. I felt like this kind of resistance to gravity, although painful as it might be, it made me stronger. And it was a little bit of a realization about life and death, and I don't want to go too deep about it. Experiment number 6. I got some point shoes, and I went to point shoes. And I stayed on the point shoes without doing anything for quite a long time, and it was extremely painful. And while doing it, I thought, I don't know exactly how to stand on the point shoes. I just didn't. And I realized how important it is to build a technique, or to build my own moves, but this is a technique, but not necessarily the ballet technique of being a point shoe, but something that can make me feel confident. I was really not feeling confident in the point shoes. So I got really interested in the idea of technique, and I know it sounds old-fashioned, and I even heard one of our mentors speaking about, oh yeah, but technique is all about virtuosity, Pavlos. So are you interested in going down the path of virtuosity and all? I was like, this is really late, it's the 90s, to consider a technique just the virtuosity. For me, the first one is the definition of technique. It is a systematic procedure, formula, or routine by which a task is accomplished. Great, but that's not enough for me. Actually, I think there is something more in technique, and my alternative definition is the following. It is a systematic procedure, formula, or routine that allows the performer to feel comfortable with the action at hand and allow him to produce something else other than the task at hand. So we could even claim that, for example, the ballerina is not necessarily just performing a pirouette, but she is producing something else. And I'm really interested in this idea and proceeding further in that. So in a sense, I had to build up a technique of being on point shoes, not because I wanted to be on point shoes, but because I could discover something else out of it. But I need to learn the proper technique. And as much as I need to learn the proper technique of being a Sufi and doing the dervish dance, blah, 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 going on. So I came down with a new image, which is this image, and I put down some words: dervish, queer, blood, silver shoes, pain, altered state, meditation, technique, qual. I don't know why I wrote it like that. States, view, centrifugal, semi-marginal, forward and past, futuristic, and immersive. So once I draw that image, I felt I had to deliver that image. I'm not allowed to question that image. And so you saw the video, which is my interpretation of his drawing. So it was, as I said, my way of doing it. And that's all I have to say, actually. But I realized yesterday, I showed this work on Ben, because it's very different to see, of course, on video, and it's very different to see it live. And although we had fallen apart with Ben, yesterday I had asked him to come in and give me some feedback and help me to go forward, because I don't know this procedure. I really have never worked in this kind of way. And Ben has been extremely generous in giving me some ideas and some ways to move forward. And what I really have learned is that although you start in this kind of process, although you start with this idea and you deliver something, and then you realize actually it's not your idea, but it's okay for doing what you have delivered and you can proceed with this idea, which is nothing that I would do before. My word is like, I need to produce this idea. I can't start something else. So I'm sort of learning. And I understand also that it's not exactly Ben's process. I understand that it is not exactly how Ben would work, but this is how I see through my eyes Ben's research. So in a sense, it's still a lot of me, but it also has a lot of influence from Ben. Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you. That's all.